everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now, you would have seen me put in some little ink pots in the background here just to prop the page up. Now I was going to do this as a time lapse, the background portion of it, but I thought why not? Why not do it as a tutorial sort of thing? Now I've not done this sort of background in quite some time actually. It's not very sturdy this, like it's not very sturdy. What I did last night was put some masking fluid. This is the one that I like. It is the yep, I can't pronounce that, but there it is. And I'll try my best to find it on Amazon and link it in the description. It wasn't expensive at all. It was about £5 and I've had that for a long time now and it's still 3/4 full. So I'm completely saturating the paper. Now, the trick with this is you do have to be a little bit patient. Now, I've only got probably an hour left before I'll be busy for the day, so if I do this now, then I'll give it 24 hours probably, to be honest, to dry, because it'll be tomorrow before I have a chance to work on it again. But I'm completely saturating the paper, so if I'm careful enough, just move it ever so slightly. You can see that it's damp, but it's not completely dripping wet. But the reason that I've got it as a tilt is I want the paint to come downwards. I'm just going to double check that I've saturated all of the paper, because I don't want any patches anywhere. That's where you get your weird lines and stuff. Now I've pre-wet the paints. I'm using the Rembrandt watercolour paints. I've pre-wet quite a few different colours because I'm being a bit indecisive as of late with everything. So I picked this fuchsia, purple and turquoise are usually my go-to. I don't want to say signature, but maybe, yeah, maybe, because I do use it quite often. It's just my favourite colour combo. So I'll start off with a light wash of this. I want it to be at its deepest at the very top of the page. So I'll add some more of that pigment. And then pull it down in little stripe motions. Now I have done this in a Hanna Karlzon book before and I've not had any issues because I did let the paper dry. I think I've used the heat gun with this method as well, but because I'm using tape to tape the borders to protect the page behind, I won't be able to use the heat gun on this one. So I was pulling the colour down. So I'll change up now when I go in with this beautiful turquoise, and it is really watered down. It's not a really thick consistency, this, because of that it's so pigmented. I've done this with numerous different brands of watercolour paints. You don't have to choose a really expensive one. The reason that I pulled this one out is because it was the top at the top of the pile. I was being lazy, and I do know that I really like this turquoise in particular. So the colours are mixing together now and you'll get some beautiful purples out of this. Purples and like hues of blues. So let's add a little bit on this side. I don't want to completely cover the pink up. And the reason that I've put the masking fluid down first is we can take that off when it's completely dry carefully. And it'll leave some lovely white speckles. Because I don't know if I'm going to actually use some like watered down acrylic for the white effects. I thought I'd try it this way for a change. So in with a little bit of purple. I mixed two different purples up here actually. And start adding this and just deepen it up a little bit. See, the paper's started to dry though. That's where you're getting them really solid lines. So ideally you should let it dry, completely dry, and then go over the top of it. But if you're like me and impatient, just go with the flow. Go with the flow. But what I'm going to try and do in a minute is wet it from the bottom up. And hopefully that won't mix the colours up too much. I think that'll be alright. Yeah, I will have to bring you back tomorrow to show you the actual outcome. I'm going to do layer by layer. So let's try with the clean water at the bottom. It's like this. And then wipe off the excess with this cloth. So I'm just not pushing the colour absolutely everywhere. So I think now back in with the fuchsia. Do want it a little bit more watered down than this, mind you. And don't forget as well, with the watercolour, it does dry lighter than what you're seeing now. So when I come back to this tomorrow morning, it really won't be as dark as this. But if you do want it darker, just add a few more layers. So let's try and pull the colour down ever so slightly, just a little bit more. Going with some more purple. Same things, pulling the colour down. Now that's, you see all the lines that I'm creating at the top, that's why it's a good job I have put the masking tape there, otherwise that would have been on the pages behind this one. Just pull it down a little bit more, mix it in with that fuchsia. And at the bottom as well, because you can see on this illustration, more or less the bottom is the actual swan and flowers. So that's why I wanted to keep that area at its lightest. So with the darkest pink that's in this palette, because apparently I can't help myself with pink, so add a few more really, really dark areas. Maybe pull it down a little bit further. But you can see where I've added the masking fluid, the paint won't go through. So I think the last step here, I want a little bit more blue. Just a little bit. Oh, it's just beautiful, that colour. It's like a really, it's actually like a dark version of what I just painted my wall. So let me just move this out of the way, because I haven't finished with that paint now. I am pretty confident that I'll be happy with that. Actually, just a little bit more. I've got like a paint, this is a Payne's Grey. Payne's Grey is from the same palette. I know where the colours are in that palette. I've used it that many times, just a little bit here and there. Just to deepen it up. Ever so slightly. We started from the top and then just pulling that colour down. Just like that. Let's clean my brush off, let it dry. I can move these now. And I know that there will be a glare on the camera now, but it will dry really, really beautifully, this. So I will come back tomorrow to show you what it actually looks like. Now at this point as well, you could even add, like, for instance, I've got this pulled out. This is the Winsor & Newton gold ink. You could put that in and it'd bleed beautifully, but it's not the effect that I want to go for today. You could even use a white, a silver, a pink glitter, anything that you wanted. Anything that you wanted. But I think I'm going to add that later on with the Renaissance watercolour paint in liquid chrome. That is such a beautiful shiny silver, and I think it'll go perfectly with this page. My idea is I'm going to do one of the swans in the pink shade to match all the pink, and then the other one in blues or purples. And then same with I like to keep the colour schemes really similar, really similar. So I'll probably do similar things with the flowers, and then pull in some of the Payne's Grey and like a navy blue almost for the shadowing of the flowers. Maybe even with some ink tints, maybe. So I will see you tomorrow. So I went ahead and removed all the masking tape. Luckily I didn't have any issues this time, thankfully. I didn't say as well at the start, it is a Hanna Karlzon page. This is a I can never say that word. It's a mixture of all of the inks basically. But you can see it's dried beautifully and flat. No issues there. I mean, tiny, not even that. I've done really well this time. I'm quite impressed. You can see there how flat it is. But I've got this little tool, and when I was searching for, and I've got dog ears on it, nice. When I was searching for the masking fluid, this came up I think it's just like a masking fluid eraser. You can see from where I used it last time. But basically, you just rub this on. Or you can use your finger, or you can put a little cloth over your finger. Now this is the part that's going to make me really nervous, because this is where I've had issues in the past. So I'll try this. If it starts ripping the paper, I'll gently use my finger. So I think bringing you in a little bit closer would be a little bit better. So you can see these tiny little speckles we've got here, but one big one, that's the one that's making me ever so nervous. Ever so nervous. So I'll use this on the smaller areas, and look how beautifully that works. And it's really easy, really easy. I mean, you could use a finger, you don't have to do this, but it's that big one that's making me a little. So let's just give it a go gently. Beautiful. I'm really impressed with that, really impressed with that. I must have been last time I used this a little bit more heavy-handed, but you can see there how easily it does lift up. You don't have to do this step. You could always just add the watered down or pure white acrylic to get these sort of effects, but I fancy doing something a little bit different. I do think it's quite effective. The only thing is it leaves these on the page, but I suppose any way of taking masking fluid off, you're going to have this sort of issue. So I was pulling it up gently. There's a couple of bigger splotches at the bottom here. And you get the idea. It's really easy to do. I think I'll do this a little bit at the top. Well, there's quite a few here. I'm going to show you. Again, it's not damaging the page, touch wood, yet. That's fine. Even the bigger ones, I'm not having much of an issue. So I'm really impressed. Let's get these last little bits. You can see as well with the bigger areas, the watercolour is sort of settled around it, and then giving it a really cool effect. So it's not just white splodges, there is like a darkness around them. That'd be a really good idea actually if you're doing a galaxy, you're doing planets, because they sort of look like planets, don't they? So that is all the masking fluid off, and I think it is really effective. Now I can't use my liquid chrome Renaissance watercolour just yet because I need to finish the colouring part, but that has given me a good base layer to work off. Now I think I said it while I was doing it, but you don't have to leave it here. You could get to the point of where it's dry, leave the masking fluid on and do another layer or two, just thin layers. That's with the watercolour, it does dry a lot lighter. Now what I would say is the longer that you leave masking fluid and masking tape on your paper, the harder it is to get off. So that's why I thought I'm not going to push my luck. It's been like, I started this yesterday afternoon and I should have been doing it this afternoon, so it's been more than 20, it's been like 30 something hours that I actually put these down, and I think the paper's coat with it quite well. But you could do 2 or 3 layers in that time. But like I said, I think the paper's coat really well. Now I do plan on filming this whole page. I'm going to film it in a completely different style, not as a colour along. So if you're interested in watching that, it'll be one of my upcoming videos. But if you did like this little mini tutorial of a background, it's super duper easy. And even though I've gone over the illustration, that is so easy to cover up with pencils, and because I'm using very similar colours, you know, it's not going to be an issue. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.